and welcome to Conversations with Nurit. I am Nurit. I'm here in Budapest, and today I am the guest. Stefan and I decided to switch roles. Stefan is a spiritual teacher and coach in Germany, and I've interviewed him, a month ago or so, something like that. And we're switching roles today, so take it away, Stefan.
Here we are. Great. So, and then, by the way, you did an interview with my spiritual teacher, Summer Pan, and I shitted my pants when you told him about me. I was like, oh no, she really mentions me. Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I had to, because you're a wonderful example of somebody who's you recognize the teacher who is for real. You recognize that he's the real thing, and you follow this instruction without analyzing or psychobabbling it, and you're in a fantastic place as a result. So
that is already the topic your book is all about, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
So that is what I am curious exactly about that point, because what I did I never had a spiritual search in a classic way, but even though every really good teacher tells you you have to be the way you are,
yeah,
I tried to become like my teacher. So was it the same for you? And is this what the book is all about?
Well, actually, my search was the classic search. I did all the classic stuff. I went to India, I had my Kundalini awakened, and I chanted for long hours, and I served my teacher, and then after that I found another teacher, and I studied metaphysics for many, many years and became extremely intellectual. And so for about 40 years, where my search took me is a one big fat ego.
Well, really 40 years?
Yeah,
wow.
Just about. And that's, unfortunately, the more information you gather spiritually, it's not like information that you need to gather if you're, say, building a bridge or learning medicine. Yeah. In spirituality, which I did not know, the more you get rid of your knowledge, the better. So after I met my real teacher, for the last few years, I've had to really unlearn a lot of what I took on.
Yeah. And that's when you wrote your book, when you started this new journey?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I realized that so much of my search, well, first of all, I became addicted to the search. Yeah. And I was terrified of meeting the true teacher, because I knew this is the end of the line. The search is over. It's like saying to an alcoholic, no more alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one thing. But the other thing is, what the major realization was that everything that I did before, all my experiences, all my learning, and all my spirituality was mental. It was all in the realm of the mind. And I realized that even a peaceful state of mind is still in the mind. There is an angry state of mind, there's a happy state of mind, there's a sad state of mind, and there's a peaceful state of mind. So you do meditation and you do all these relaxations, and you have a guru, and you sit and chant and do all these wonderful things, and you can become very peaceful.
Yeah.
But it becomes like a very nice, pleasant dream, which you don't really want to wake up from.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's very interesting, because my lecturer, she just told me that she did the same for years. And she was like meditating and doing all the right stuff. Nothing really happened. She really tells it from like, okay, yeah, I was a little bit more relaxed. That was all.
Yeah.
Nothing spiritual. It was like, okay, yeah, do some yoga, do some meditation. Yeah, it relaxes your mind. But how did the shift happen for you? How did you realize that you were in your mind all the time and not really spiritual?
Well, I didn't realize it until I met who is my husband today, Gabor. I met him about 2.5 years before I accepted him as my teacher. And I kept pushing him away because I felt like he knew something that I didn't. I felt that he seemed to be the most amazing listener. He was just like an empty vessel sitting there and taking in. He never tried to impress me, and my ego at that time was so big because I'm the disciple of so and so and all that. So I try to tell him where it's at, and it was fine with him. He didn't mind it. But
so really, he just sat there and listened to your mental spirituality.
Anything. And then, so I tried to find fault with him because I had to find an excuse to stay away from him because I knew this is the end of the. I felt intuitively. Now I know it. I didn't know why I was so scared of him. But so, I used to complain, oh my God, he wears sandals with socks, he lives in Chinatown, what kind of man is this? So I kept pushing him away.
Yeah.
And then until one day we accidentally met there's no accidents, we met in a singles barbecue. And we started talking, and I was telling him about my practices. At that time I was into law of attraction and stuff like that, and he was being present. So I said to him, so you're present, so now what? So what? I didn't know what that was, you see. And he said to me, well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with any of this, but I'm being present, and the path that you're doing is fine, but it's all in the mind. And it shocked the hell out of me. Talk about shitting yourself. What? I just studied 15 years metaphysics. The word metaphysics means beyond, right? So everything that I learned was learning to go beyond the mind. And I had no idea, though. I still didn't know. It irritated me so much that anyone could say that to me. And there were two things that were happening. There was something inside me that knew he was right. Because there was, just like you recognize Samarpan, I had that recognition. I was just trying to deny it. I didn't want that recognition. I didn't want to have anything to do with the end of the line. I wanted to keep seeking. But the second part is because I was so agitated when he said that, I always knew that if something bothers me that much, there's something for me to look. There must be some truth in it.
Yeah.
So I was stewing over that for a while, but then after another year or so, I just felt I had to call him. And we got together, and at one point, I think very shortly after we got together, I asked him to show me what it is that he knows. I said, look, I know you're not fake because I've been with enough fakes to know the difference.
Okay.
And what is it? I know that you know something that I don't know. I want it. I want to know what it is. So he was just, he said, okay, it's fine. He never before tried to force it on me. I just sat there, and he said, okay, look into my eyes. And I looked at him, and he was completely still and present. And he just said, feel your hands. Okay, and I was feeling my hands. And eventually he led me to actually feel my body, which was such a different concept for me because my other teachings were always poo-pooing the body. So all of a sudden, by being in that presence of stillness and silence, and it was like an empty space, like a vacuum that I could just walk into. And the more I felt the inner space of the body and being with him in that space, my mind just stopped. And it was only when my mind stopped, but really stopped, there was a shift that happened. And because of that shift, because of that gap of no thought, I was able to recognize that everything else was thought. Everything that preceded it, all the other searches that I've done, there's a difference. It's not a different state of mind anymore. It's not even an experience. It's nothing. It's the mind labels experiences, labels, spiritual whatever, visions or happenings or whatever. states of mind and all that, but this wasn't anything like that. It was complete silence. And it's only from that place that you can recognize what the rest, where it isn't, where presence isn't, and that it's all in the thought realm.
So who were the blind who were leading you before? Because the title of your book is The Blind Leading the Blonde on the Road to Freedom.
Yeah.
So this was the freedom. And who were the blind, or what did they teach you, and what did you do all the time? Like you already said, metaphysics, and did you stay in India?
Yes, I was in India a total of 4 years. I went three different times, total of 4 years, and I studied there. I was there in the ashram of Swami Muktananda. And it was great. It was a great experience. You know, there's a lot of energy, a lot of chanting, a lot of devotion. You know, my heart chakra opened, my kundalini was awakened. But and the teaching was fine in itself if I was awake, or if it had the power to wake me up. You know, the main teaching was honor yourself, kneel to your own self, God dwells within you as you. Well, of course, that's wonderful. But there is a catch. I had to deserve it. You had to serve the guru, you had to please the guru, you had to spend all this time trying to chant away, burn your karmas, clean up your chakras, do all this stuff. You're laughing, yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah.
You know, so if it's my birthright, why do I have to do all this? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but I didn't know. I was very young. I was 2 years old. No, I'm kidding. Don't want to age myself here, but I was very young, and I didn't know any better, and I wanted it so badly that at that point, I would have done anything. I wanted to find my freedom. I wanted to find true love. I was so disappointed in life and in people and relationships, and I just wanted to find something real. So I would have done anything, and I did do just about anything. And but nothing ever happened. You know, I got a big ego because I was very proud of all the work that I did. I was very proud of having my kundalini awakened and all the spiritual. I had visions and lights and you name it. You know.
Wow. Nice.
It's very exciting. What's that?
How did you do that?
Well, I meditated and chanted, and sometimes I get visions, and it's all very exciting to the mind, but those are experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
They're mental experiences, and I would not have known that if I had not had the experience, you know, later on of stepping out of the mind. The experience that I had with Gabor is actually, it's not a state of mind, it's going completely beyond the mind, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
And so that's the only place that you can actually observe what your mind is doing. You know, people say, oh, observe, 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 be the observer. If the mind is observing the mind, it's of no use. And that's what usually happens unless you have that shift.
Yes. Your book is also I just read a few chapters or even only the headlines, and it's very funny, and it has strange chapter names like From Nature to Civilization.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't get it because my English is so poor, but what is that about?
Well, it's a play on the word civilization, as calling it civilization, because that's pretty much what what humanity has become lately. If you don't believe me, just turn on the news, providing they're telling you the truth on the news. That really goes back to my story of where I grew up. I was born in a kibbutz in Israel, where it was a time where Israel was just being built, and there was no tall buildings. Everything was nature. I was running around naked with the pigs and the dogs and pulling out cucumbers from the ground and eating them. And I was in nature. I had no restrictions. At that time, kids didn't even live with their parents. I lived in a children's home. with a whole bunch of kids, and we were wild. We did whatever we wanted.
Wow.
And then when I was 6, we moved to Canada, and everything changed. All of a sudden, there was rules and regulations. You had to tiptoe. You couldn't talk loud in the building, and it was cold and freezing. And I was with people who were stuck up and frigid. As a child, it was quite disturbing.
Was it a bit like it was like you were civilized?
Yeah, I had to become civilized, but it was a terrible culture shock for me.
Okay, I understand. You mentioned one thing which is very interesting to me. It's still strange for me to talk about it because I feel drawn to both. I feel drawn to what Samarpan says, and I didn't have these experiences with him, like whatever experience. I just realized, okay, that's the truth. Full stop. Nothing. Yeah. I don't have to hear anything else for the rest of my life because I know it's the truth.
Right. And I already did that for you.
And the other thing is the manifestation thing. There's one guy I like him a lot. I love him. He's called Bentinho Massaro.
Yes, I heard of him.
But it's very strange because when you listen to them with a mind, it sounds like opposites. Like you can't bring them together because they would contradict each other and they would say, no, that's not the truth. That is the truth. But if I listen to them, I just feel it, that there is an attraction to both. It's very strange. What did you do within the realm of manifesting? And how do you see it from your perspective today?
Oh, it's an excellent question, actually. Yeah, I was very much into that. I mostly did Abraham Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
I practiced that quite a bit. And I was very much into manifestation and trying to manifest things in my life, like the man that I wanted to be with. I made a list and everything. And what I didn't realize then, which I realize now, is that most of I can't speak for everyone because I don't know everyone, and I don't know exactly what Bentinho says, but most of the teachings out there that talk about manifestation, it's all done with the mind.
Yeah.
And the mind is bipolar.
Yeah. The
mind is a positive and negative consistently. And when you want to manifest something from your mind, what's happening is you want money because you're afraid of lack.
Yes.
So the feeling of lack is there. So even if, first of all, it makes it very hard to manifest, and that's why it takes so much time. People say, oh my God, I've been imaging this and writing what I want and doing all the right practices and keeping positive thought. Positive thought is the opposite of negative thoughts. There's your polarity.
Yeah.
There's a constant swing. The happier you get, the sadder you're going to get later. We call it contrast. So
yes.
You have one moment you're happy and you're manifesting stuff. The next moment you're so down because of the contrast. That's fine, but that's the realm of the mind. What I know now, and one of the reasons I know it is because when I threw out my list of what I was looking for, that I found Gabor, and he doesn't suit my list. Okay. The thing is, I couldn't put him on my list because I didn't know that someone like him existed.
Yes.
So there's something greater than our pea brain. Yeah. There's something greater than our minds. That knows. The universe knows what. I don't even like to say that because who am I to say what the universe knows? But there's our inner being, our original being, knows what's right for us. And the mind thinks it could choose. But whatever it's choosing is not real choice because it's so conditioned by all stuff that we suppressed and all the stuff that we learned. You know, that's what I love about Samarpan is I unteach people. I have to take away what they learn. But if you're a person who's learned so much or even a little bit and you're trying to choose what you want in life, you don't know how to make the right decisions because they're chosen for you. Something is thought into your existence for you.
Yeah.
And it's only when you transcend the mind completely and surrender to life
Yes.
and life's lessons and life's happenings that you are able to be led to where you're supposed to be led.
Yes.
And from that point, you know, you can manifest much better. And what you do manifest lasts.
Yes.
Nothing lasts long when you manifest it from the mind because it's bipolar. It keeps going, you know.
Yeah. I always say you are manifesting from the point of resistance, and this is the problem, because when you try to manifest something to resist the thing which is here right now, you always have this problem that this bow gets too whatever it gets. You're just in between and you're torn apart. Like this is so.
That's right.
But in the moment you really are in the situation you are in, and you are ready to be in this situation forever, suddenly something changes, and it's so easy, and it's so light and so much more fun than the manifesting in resistance. It's so important that you said that. Thank you so much.
And it's the same with the search.
Yes.
No, we want it so much that we try to do it with the mind. It's the same story.
There is you told me about some boxes in your book. I like it so much because I even didn't. I only read the first sentence, and I think I already know where it's leading to. So, but now I read it. It's on page 19. You write, so many people are led to believe that Kundalini awakening is essential. What is essential is that we wake up and leave the poor Kundalini alone. I knew that this will come. Allow the intelligence of your body to decide if and when you need it. Having the Kundalini experience as a prerequisite is just another mind trick to keep you excited, motivated, and confident in your spiritual progress. It is nothing but mental stimulation to keep you enchanted with your search for what you already are. The ever-existing silence of being does not depend on Kundalini awakening any more than a stallion needs Viagra.
Yeah.
This resonates so much with me because I was never a spiritual seeker. In fact, I didn't want it, and I thought that this is bullshit. It's bollocks. I don't like it. What I heard some esoteric stuff, some spiritual stuff, and so on, and I really didn't like it so much. But still, I was drawn to it because I was not satisfied with the materialistic life I had, and for me, it was nothing more than the first prayer that I say, okay, now I don't want any more of this. I just want to know what it's all about. And the funny thing, what you're describing here is that then you go into spirituality, and then people tell you, yeah, but before you can be awakened, you need to have the Kundalini experience, your chakras have to open. And I just recently had that again, because I had some experience I didn't like at all, were different experience. And so I love that so much. Can you elaborate on that? How did you find out that this is not necessary? You were told that it is necessary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my experience told me that it wasn't necessary, because when I had my, I don't know what to call it, awakening or shift, for me it was a shift. I realized that everything that I learned and everything that I did in the past was not it. It was not it. It was an experience in the mind. And also what I started to see is the mind, it does such con jobs on us. It creates all these spiritual journeys and experiences to excite us. Mind, it's only the mind that ever gets bored, and it doesn't like to get bored. It wants something exciting. Kundalini awakening. Oh, it's so exciting. Mine happened on a full moon. And only after a week of being in the ashram, wow, it was so advanced. That's what the mind wants. And the mind creates all these things. It creates, oh, you can't The mind says, oh, the body, forget the body, leave the body, do astral traveling, leave the body. Why? Because the mind knows that when you go in the body, the mind stops. It doesn't like that. It wants to create its own path. It keeps you locked into the mind. And so many spiritual teachings have been adopted that way. And some teachers don't even realize that that's what's happening. It's nobody's fault. It's just we haven't evolved yet during that time. Like we are today. Today there's some, like some are finding yourself. There's some teachers now that are real and recognize that mind stuff or spirituality on the mind level is not it. But in those days, in the earlier days, people didn't know that, and the mind created wonderful spin-offs. You know, and the thing is, as soon as you say that you have to do something to attain that, you're immediately assuming that you're not there, that you're not that. You're denying your birthright by the very act of searching for it.
Yes. For me, it is still very strange to talk about all this because in my experience, nothing of that which others tell is a prerequisite or is necessary in order to achieve it happened. And I'm quite a philosopher, or it feels also like thinking, but I know that it is not my thinking. It just flows through me, but I don't feel enlightened. I don't feel like, now I'm special, or I'm beyond my mind, or I don't know what it is. So I'm just living, I'm just doing it. And sometimes I'm sad, sometimes I'm happy, but what changed is I would say, like an attitude towards life. Like even when bad things happen, I still don't like them, but they're not as bad, and I'm not going into the story that now it's really bad, and no, I'm just living through it or with it or whatever. So for me, and so this might also be different for everyone. How is it for you? Is it I'm lacking the words now. It's becoming really difficult. Because what also Osho told Samapan was really interesting for me. He told him about his Satori, and Osho said, forget it immediately.
Yes.
Forget it. You don't try to go back, because this is what many people are doing. Was it the same for you? Did you try to reach some states or make up some experiences or whatever?
Of course, in the past, yes. In the past, I thought I should be enlightened, but who's wanting to be enlightened? It's the ego that wants to be enlightened. You know, your own being, your true original being, doesn't know shit about enlightenment, doesn't care about enlightenment. But yes, it's still, I still find, because I've been involved in other teachings any teaching for so long, I've created mental habits. And that's the not such good news about all the preparation that we have. It's not really preparation, it creates blocks, because now we think we know, and now we have to unlearn so much. So the tendency is to have, I had this happen, so that means that, and I but I've also been very fortunate that I speak with Gabor every day, and in our morning coffees we have amazing conversations, and he helps me clean all this stuff up.
Yes.
You know, every now and then the thought will come in, I don't always notice it, and he said, that's just your mind, that's just a thought, oh, okay. And I come back to being.
Yes.
And so that's very important. Even what he teaches, he'll teach something, and then he'll tell you to drop it.
Yeah.
Even if or something, he says, I have to tell you this, but then I have to tell you that it's not this. It's this, but it's not this. In some sentences, he has the word yes and no at the same time. You know, because we have to use language. So, because we talk, but language is in duality.
Yes, or there's a nice saying by Bruce Lipton. he said language was designed to hide feelings.
Well,
I like this one. Yeah, this is it brings you us in a mental state, and we stay there and we think about it and pro and con and back and forth, and so, but it doesn't help us and bring us anywhere.
yeah, we've been conditioned that way, and
Yes.
now it's time to uncondition.
Yeah, you have such a funny chapter. It's something like why spiritual people are not so nice.
How come non-spiritual people are so much nicer?
Yes, the other way around. Yeah, it's what was the or what is the background of this chapter, or what are you writing about there?
I've been surrounded by spiritual people for so long, and there's always been so much politics around, and I've had such a big spiritual ego, and the problem is when you have a spiritual ego, it's hopeless.
Yes.
It's much worse than the regular ego, much worse.
Yes.
'Cause
Because now you are better than the rest.
exactly.
Yes.
And in the name of non-duality and in the name of unity, now you've separated yourself from everybody else.
Yes.
Because they're not spiritual and you are.
Yes.
So the division goes even deeper. And the more the division gets deeper, the more longing you have to unite. So it's like a vicious circle.
Yes.
And it's not pleasant to be around spiritual people all the time, because it gets, spirituality is really they say the 60s are the new 40s or whatever, the blue is the new black. Well, the new age spirituality is the new religion. It's just like religion. There's no separation. There's no difference because it's mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but non-spiritual people don't have that.
Yeah.
If they're nice, they're just nice, and they don't know they're nice.
Yeah. I experienced the same thing within the raw food community.
Yeah.
I thought this is paradise where I ought to be. And then I realized, oh no, shit, they're also arguing and fighting about little stuff. And I thought, whoa, okay. It's true that you have macrocosm, or how do you call it, and microcosm, and it's all within itself, and you have the same fights within little communities like in big communities, and always the same. What are we doing here? Why are we not just nice to each other? And this was exactly the same point for me. What was very important. It's so nice that you talk about that. What else do we have in the book? Did you told me again about, it's page 17, right? I read it. It's about it's about the psychologist.
The psychic.
The psychic, right?
Yeah.
Right. I have to search it.
I have it here if you want me to read it.
Yeah, read it, please.
So this is a dialogue between a psychic and a client.
Yeah.
The psychic says, "Do you have an aunt in New York?" And the client says, "No." And the psychic says, "Was your dog's name Fluffy?" And the client says, "No." The psychic says, "Did your grandmother have false teeth?" And the client says, "Wow, yes. Maybe I do have an aunt in New York. Maybe in the past life, my dog's name was Fluffy." Why do I bring this up?
Yeah, I'm interested.
You go to a psychic, and not you, but people go to a psychic, and out of 100 things, they might have a few things that are correct, and immediately but the problem is that you start to believe all of it.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with some of the teachings that I was in that were partial truths. Like, for example, my first teacher, "God dwells within you as you," is very accurate. It's true. So there you have a truth, but then the other part isn't true, that you have to work your way through it and you have to earn it, and it happens sometime in the future and somebody else will give it to you. That is not true. But when you hear one thing that is true, you think, aha, this teacher is for real. Now you accept everything that they say, and you're locked into a falsehood. So you don't even benefit so much from the part of it that is true, because the other part that isn't creates a block that you have to later on let go of.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. So there are a lot of traps. So is it really that, if I understood it right, the whole book is about traps?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I feel like it was my destiny to go through many traps so that I can warn other people, be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
Even here, you know, it's interesting living in Hungary because a lot of people here were not exposed to a lot of the New Age stuff that North America has been through in Western Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like they're 30 years behind the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in North America and especially in London, there's people that are just tired of spirituality, the New Age stuff. They want to, people are waking up like that. I've been meeting people that just are waking up, like you, without any plus, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's because they've already gone through that stage and they already know now that's not working.
Yes.
We get calls all the time. Gabor get calls from people who've been to this teacher, and I'm not mentioning names, but for years, like me, and they haven't found it. Nothing happened to them, and now they're coming and then bang, they're just waking up.
Yeah.
So it's but here they haven't gone through that. So, and they think they have to, you know, the grass is always greener. I better go to America because that's where all my life
Yes.
really. So they want to, they think that they have to do that. And I feel like I'm here to say, no, you don't have to do that. You know, you could be the 100th monkey and, you know, learn it by osmosis from the people who already went through that.
Yeah. This is something very interesting. What I experienced, now I even don't know which teacher is in the mind or is telling the truth. But if I resonate with it, for me it is the truth, and I can resonate now with teachers. Maybe others of their disciples, they are in the mind because they are following what they're talking, and now they think, now I can. That's right. Do it like this and do it like that. But me, I'm just sitting there, and if I love watching it, I watch it and I'm happy. And if I don't love watching it, I just push the end button and it's, I'm not interested anymore. And this is the interesting thing. You can do it with anything. You can take a pure teaching and you can go into the mind with it, or you can take it pure and say, oh, yeah. Nice.
That's what I did. Before I met Gabor, I was reading Eckhart Tolle, who to me is number one out there. I read Eckhart Tolle. I listened to all his tapes. I didn't get it. I was in my mind comparing it to everything else that I heard, what my former teacher said. And I thought, oh, yeah, this is simple. I get it. Yeah, I get it. And you see today, too, if you watch some of his videos, some of the questions that he's asked are very ordinary and not very, you know, but his answers are fantastic. And so if it was only since I had my shift with Gabor, now if I read Eckhart Tolle, I get it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So if you hear something from another teacher, if it stills your mind, if it takes you inside, if you become present while hearing it, and if he tells you that that's the presence you already are, then you know you got the real deal.
Oh yeah.
If it just sends you on more mind games and you have to analyze it and more knowledge, you know, it's not it.
That's so nice that you're saying that, because it's so important. You can look at everything from the mind's perspective, or you can just drop into peace and realize, okay, that's it. And nothing has to happen. You don't need this Kundalini experience while doing it. Your chakras don't have to open. It happens by itself. That is the strange thing about it, that you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You just fall into peace and you like yourself and love yourself the way you are.
Yeah. You know, there's so many spiritual concepts out there, like be the observer, learn to let go, and people, and they're all wonderful things. But if you haven't had that shift, if your experience is still in the mind, then you interpret those things in the mind, and you try to cultivate a spiritual behavior or a spiritual way of being, it doesn't work.
So would you even say, like, drop your spirituality and just live your life and be happy?
Sure, but be happy is also, you can be happy. To me, it's not even about happiness. It's about being.
Yes.
It's about being still and seeing things as they are without your added stories to it. And it is it's not so much happiness as it is for me what I would call more of a inner satisfaction.
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. I am.
Yeah.
I am now, and it's okay. And it doesn't matter what happens.
Yes.
You know, life still happens. There's ups and downs. You know, my life isn't. There's turmoil in my life every now and then, but it's handled differently.
Yes.
It's not a story about it, or you know, it's there's an embracing of it, but not a mental embrace. You know, people say just allow it, just accept it. No, you can't allow and accept with the mind. The mind will not do that.
Yes.
But it's like what I do is I first go inside my body and I become very present and very still. And I allow myself to embrace and bring whatever the problem is, or bring whatever the disharmony is inside that empty space. And that's where things get resolved. And if they don't get resolved, that's fine too. But the point is to remain in that peace. It's a peace. It's a stillness. And it could be joyful, it could be not so joyful sometimes, but there's an underlying feeling of stillness, of peace.
Yes. So nice. Is there any question I didn't ask which I should have asked you?
That's good.
Or is there a very funny story in your book you want to tell?
I have one of the boxes. I'll share my favorite box. I hope.
Oh yeah.
Don't get offended by it. But.
I love these boxes. I have to read it all. It's really, I really like it because it's so, it's the same. What I realize, it's breaking with your conditioning, breaking with your habits, with your habit of, and now again another rule and another rule and now a spiritual rule, but it's still a rule. Yeah. You're not free. It's a rule, and your freedom is not doesn't come with a preset or a condition or with something you have to do. No, your freedom is already here. And even if you're in the worst situation of your life, the freedom is already here. It's just a question where you put your attention to.
Exactly.
I like that. Yeah. I'm very curious now about your.
This one has to do with it's about people who take on new spiritual identities. So, like my ex-husband had this identity that he was an incarnation of some great Indian sage, and I'm a successor of so and so, and I'm a this and I'm a that. So it's spiritual, and people do it throughout their life. They go to psychics to find out who they were in the past, right? So, when we don't recognize our inner being, we try to take credit for our past lives. There is such an animal. Who knows what there is? Anyways, we love to think that we were someone important like Cleopatra, Alexander the Great, or John the Baptist. Have you ever heard anyone say that in their past life they were a poor schmuck finding shoes in Buckfuck, Lebanon?
Yes.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, no, that's the point. Yeah, it really is. And it's even like if there was something like past life, it could be that you're much, much happier if you're the unworthy guy, or the guy who lives under a bridge, or who didn't have a life which was recorded in history books. And we like to think, no, I'm the follower of, or I was, so we are already everything. So for me, it is just so clear that not in everyday life, but I just know that past and future are not existing, and we live everything at the same moment. So yes, sure, you were Cleopatra because you are already now at this moment, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing, and there's nothing you can take from it, right? Okay, so you were Cleopatra, nice, great, but who are you now? And
exactly.
How is it now for you?
Exactly. And you can only be present now.
Yes.
If you want to use the word enlightened, you can only be enlightened now.
Yeah.
5 minutes ago, what you were, your life story, or whatever life situation you were in 5 minutes ago, it bears no relevance whatsoever on your presence now.
Yes.
So, a lifetime ago, I don't think so. Not so much.
Even if there was, it's just now, it's just so unimportant.
Yeah.
Less than unimportant.
Yeah. I love it when students ask Gabor, he gives them some kind of practice to stay in their body, to experience presence, so that the being will be experienced, being recognized, and they're flipping out because, oh my God, my mind isn't involved with it. And do I have to do this all the time? Well, just now. You just have to do it now. You can only be present now. So you mean that's always? Well, no, just now. Be present now.
That's
the humor for you.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes, I know this. I have it all within me.
Yeah.
There's one. I like that so much. I don't know why I had this realization, but for me, it is just clear that I could be anybody, and like some say, no, I couldn't have done this, and I couldn't have hurt him, or I couldn't have been this kind of asshole. Yes, I could have been any kind of asshole, no problem. And also every kind of saint, it. I people don't get it. I don't know why. I just know it. Yeah. For me, it's just obvious that I can't say, no, I'm holier than the rest, or I'm better, or whatever. No, I'm not. I'm just a human being, or like having this experience now. This is all I can say about me. I'm having an experience. This is quite real for me. But the rest, I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
And it's so nice that you write about this so openly, and because not many dare to, because then they realize, shit, I was in a trap, but now they don't want to how do you say,
they don't want to admit.
They don't want to admit that they were in a trap, because we want, and we are still also in the spiritual community, in painting a nice story. It has to look good somehow.
It's hard, and it's too bad, because you can be lost in some delusional trap for so long, just because the spiritual ego again.
Yes.
So when I left the first teaching that I was in and went to the next one, the metaphysics, I was put in a nuance class, and my ego was so bruised. What do you mean nuance class? I've already done 16 years of spirituality. What do you mean a nuance class? I had to swallow it. And then, of course, when I met Gabor, like, it was almost like going backwards for a while. Because now all the stuff that I suppressed now has to come out. Because in the other teaching, you have to put on a smile, you can have a bad mood, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, and I thought I surrendered. But I surrendered with my mind. That's not surrender at all. And now I have to learn the real meaning of surrender.
Yeah.
It's almost like starting over. And I understand why some people just don't want to hear about this, because after so many years, you don't want to even think that what you've done before is not it.
Mhm.
But the truth is, it's not really a waste of time, because it's, you know, once you know what is, you know what is. You also know what isn't, and no one can fool you again.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, you know, it's.
That's great. I like that very much, because it's the real deal, or the real talk about spirituality. So many people are trapped into this. I also don't know where I take it from. It's just a feeling I get, because I never experienced it like that. I had one trap which I can relate to so much. It was like trying to become like the spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
That was my oh no, I'm totally different than him. Shit, I'm extrovert. Sometimes I'm also introvert, you know. I change a lot, so I don't have to copy someone. I just can do my thing, and it's so nice. I will read the whole book now. It's I already fell in love when I just read the chapters, just the headlines. I already liked it totally, because yeah, this is also what this was my change, when I didn't try to pretend anymore than what I am or what is now, and not try to become a spiritual teacher. I didn't want to become it. Sometimes I wrote it and I didn't feel good, but it just happens. I can't prevent it anymore.
Exactly.
It's and I don't like it, by the way. So this is not something for my ego.
It's not that much fun. You know, there are days that, you know, even Gabor and I, it's there's a lot of opposition to it, because minds don't want to know about it.
Yes.
Oh,
this is something I wanted to talk about now that that you mentioned it. The thing with the opposition. Now I have to look it up.
Oh, I know what you mean.
When something like when.
Yeah, where was it? Where there is a will, there are opposing friends and relatives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you talk about that, please?
That was relating to my experience of going to India, when I felt very intuitively, very strongly that I needed to go to India, and everyone tried to stop me. My father, he sent me to a psychiatrist to brainwash me, and he promised me to pay for all my tuition for university. I just got out of the.
It was like bribing you.
Yes.
Wow.
His wife, I inherited some money, so his wife told me that if I don't go, she will match the money that I have and buy me a house. Another friend of mine promised me a trip around the world. My boyfriend that I just separated from wanted to marry me all of a sudden. I mean, like one thing after the other. Everyone. My father's ex-girlfriend told me that she knows of at least 2 people who were raped and robbed in India. I mean, like, you wouldn't believe the opposition. And it didn't stop. Even after I met Gabor, I had even more opposition. My father disowned me back in the day, but even now I've lost many friends and family members. It's just the mind doesn't want this. The mind recognizes that it's doom.
Yes.
But it's not really its doom. It just means that it's a demotion for the mind.
Yes.
It's not a death for the mind.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Did you experience it really also like that? That your family are the last who want to hear about it. For me, it is like that. So for my family, I couldn't be a teacher or whatever. Yeah, they don't. Yeah. It's a saying. There is a saying. I don't remember the words in English, but like you can't be the.
You can't be. What is it?
In your own country.
A prophet in your own.
Yes. It's just not possible. It's for me. It is really like something completely impossible.
Yeah.
It only can happen when you change so much, or when I change so much, that they recognize something in me what they couldn't see before or couldn't believe or then, but it has to grow big within me before, or I don't know how to explain that. I really have to change, and there has to be also some, if there comes some outer recognition, you know, something like you have fans or you have disciples or whatever, how you want to call it, then others come. But I even don't want it. I want that everyone is free. This is my longing, my own freedom and the freedom of everyone else. And this is,
it's true. I asked Gabor once, why are we bothering with this? Why are we even doing this? He said, we have no choice. The world is changing.
yes.
And this is the movement that the universe is moving to right now. And people are going to have to wake up sooner or later.
Yeah.
So might as well help them.
Thank you so much for the talk, for your book, and also for your work that you're bringing out the message. It's so important. I love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you again. And it's always a pleasure. We've had some wonderful conversations, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for watching. This has been Conversations with Nurit. And in this conversation, Stefan Hine interviewed me about my book, The Blind Leading the Blonde on the Road to Freedom. And do you know the subtitle for that?
Oh no, I don't.
The subtitle, I have to read it. Confessions of a Recovering Spiritual Junkie.
I like it so much. It's so full of humor. This is my kind of spiritual humor.
You gotta laugh at yourself, or otherwise you might as well croak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Take care.